Hey y'all, I'm Blaine Phillips.
And I'm Jason-LeVan.
We're married, like just a minute ago, but we've been together for 14 years.
We have a teenage daughter.
Which means she's basically an adult, right?
We're also growing a business on the side together.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Through all of that, we've learned how to improve so many aspects of our lives and show up in an amazing way.
So we decided to host a podcast to share our journey with you.
It's called Let's Do Life Together, because that's just what we want to do with you.
So if you could use some tips and tricks on how to make life a little smoother,
then you're in the right place.
Come on in and let's do life.
Welcome back, friends. I'm so excited that you're here. The excitement continues from the moment the microphone turns on. I just can't believe that we are recording episode 4 already. It's so much fun getting to hang out with you, and hearing your feedback from the first episodes has just been really great. Thank you so much for that. If you haven't had a chance to take a listen to episode 3 so far, we really dug into date nights there, and this is kind of the second part of that. You don't necessarily have to have listened to it, but it will be helpful just to kind of catch you up on where we were. You know what I'm saying? So, little bit of recap. We really dug into the fact that Jason and I reached a place in our relationship where we were disconnected. We were doing the things, you've done the things, right? You've washed the dishes, you've done the laundry, you've packed the kids' lunches, you've paid the bills, and then you sit down on the other end of the couch beside your person and you numb out to Netflix because it makes it so easy. And then it's bed and do it again tomorrow. There's passion is missing, that connection time, that back in the day honeymoon phase. Oh my gosh, you're my person. That's where we were. I mean, we weren't fighting. We weren't grumpy. We were just okay. And being okay didn't feel very good. We weren't okay with being okay. Have you ever felt like that?
So if you didn't get a chance, go back to listen to episode 3 and you'll hear our date night tips and how to make it a routine, how to make it affordable and fit it into your schedule.
Absolutely. We even included a download that's got some great ideas for just staying at home, in-home date nights. You don't have to go out to connect with your person. So jump back, check that out. And now let's dig into today. So we're working on our regular date nights, right? Like we talked about. Jason and I, our goal is always to have one a week. It doesn't always happen, but that is the goal. That does not mean we're going out every week. That could be we're staying in, or we're going out, or we're doing different things. But the goal is one a week. Well, it was time to take it to the next level. We were asked, when was the last time you took a getaway, just the two of you, to reconnect? Crickets.
Just about never. It was easy to figure it out because it was basically never happened. And for me, I never went on a getaway with my first marriage either. Could be a correlation with the end there. It was always just about visiting people, visiting family. So any travel was going to parents or grandparents or just family members for generally holidays every once in a while, not necessarily tied to a holiday. But that's not quality time. That's not a getaway with your partner. It's almost not even family time for your immediate family. It's great to see your family and to visit, and you should do those things. But this is a separate thing. An add-on to that is carving out the time for a getaway.
And at that same conference, we were challenged. Healthy couples should do their best to have one date night a week and a getaway every quarter. What? I remember sitting in my seat thinking, you've got to be kidding me right now, right? Like, I can't even remember the last time we had a getaway. Like, we didn't, actually. I can remember because we didn't. Like Jason said, our vacations were limited. We certainly weren't making time for just the two of us. And now you want me to do it 4 times a year? I mean, I would love to get away with Jason 4 times a year, but how am I, instantly, just like you're thinking right now, instantly the excuses start in your brain. How am I going to do it? How am I going to make time for that? How am I going to afford it? I'd like to do it, but I don't think I can. Okay, sit back, sister. because I had the exact same reaction. Jason too, we were like, I mean, that sounds all great in theory, but how are we actually going to do that? Well, just like with anything else, when it becomes a priority to you, you figure it out. You will make it happen. Whatever you want, you will make it happen. That's just the reality. You pass a new pair of shoes in the store and they look really good and you're like, I'd like to have those, but I probably shouldn't. I bet you're going to figure out how to find that money for those shoes if it's what you want. And you know what I wanted? I wanted that fire back with my partner. I wanted to reconnect with him. I didn't want to just sit on the other side of the couch and fall asleep to Netflix anymore. I wanted to rekindle that. And I believed what I was hearing. I believed that we could find that in a getaway. And so we figured it out. I mean, that was it. There are ways to have getaways on the cheap. First of all, there are also ways to save money, to earn your way to those getaways. Let's talk about on the cheap first. Jason and I love to do this sometimes because it's not always feasible to go. Just stay home.
Yeah, a staycation is obviously one of the cheapest ways to go. All you really need is some childcare, and we're fortunate that we have parents nearby that we can send the kids off to for sleepovers or friends, and you just have to, make some arrangements ahead of time. You can even tell everybody that you're going out of town and not really go out of town.
Yes, do that. That's always a good one. Hey, we're going to be out of town and you're not anywhere. You're just home, but there's no kids here. And you plan it like you would a getaway. What thing are you guys going to make for dinner together that's a special treat, and have some wine and sleep in and snuggle and talk about life, and just don't do the laundry. Don't do any of those things. Just be together and reconnect without the kids and without any pressures of responsibilities that day, honestly.
And it doesn't have to be that expensive to go a couple hours away. So pick a spot. Driving distance, you don't want to take half of your weekend just in the car, driving back and forth to your destination. Find a spot. We actually started with a bed and breakfast was our first kind of idea, and we found a spot a couple hours, which was, just remote enough away to feel like we went somewhere. And everything around is different. It's totally new experience for both of us, a new place to stay where neither one of us have been before, new restaurants to see, wineries, breweries, the things, we kind of enjoy doing.
There's something so magical about that. Like, I don't care if it's 3 towns over, exploring something that you've never really explored before together and seeing things for the first time. It gives you different levels of conversation, and it's just really cool. All right. Are you already talking negative to me? Are you already telling me we can't possibly afford to go stay in a bed and breakfast? Yeah. Guess what? I didn't think I could either. I didn't think we could. But you want to know what? It became a priority. So look around. Look at your bank statement. Where are you spending money that you could take that money and put it to a getaway because you're not happy in your relationship? You're not happy with just checking the boxes and just being okay. And you want a thriving, passion-filled relationship. Well, that means it has to go to the head of the list. For us, it meant we cut cable. Yeah. I said it. We cut cable. But you don't even need cable anymore. Oh my gosh. Between Netflix and other things, who needs cable? We cut cable. You know what else we did? We cut way back on eating out because you can spend so much dang money. And those two things are fleeting moments. The memories and the experiences that Jason and I have created on these getaways that we brought into our lives far surpassed any fast food drive-through or eating out experience for me.
And you can start with, picking an off-season time where the rates are cheaper. So a couple nights, and I'll say, a B&B can really go a long way because oftentimes children are not allowed. So it's a total grown-up kind of weekend. Your kids, other people's kids are not there. So maybe it's a few $100s for that weekend. Well, you can find that money. The money's in your attic, in your closet, a couple postings on eBay, ahead of time, and you can make a little extra money and find that money.
So the point is, make it a priority. That's what you want. We sat in those same chairs, just like you're probably sitting in your car or you're on your jog right now, and you're thinking, I would love to have a getaway, but I just don't know how I can make it happen. We said the same things, but we just decided that we were worth it. Our relationship was worth it, and we were going to figure it out. And we started with staycations, and then we built a little bit on that, and we found that bed and breakfast that we mentioned. And now we've taken a couple of trips, like longer trips together, or gone to New Orleans, which was super fun. But that doesn't have to be what it's about. You just have to start with making the decision that your relationship is a priority and that it's worth it. And the next thing you have to do, this is what Jason's really good at, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So the next thing is you have to actually put it on the calendar and schedule it. And I'm sure a lot of people will say, well, I don't have time. There's no time. The kids have X, Y, and Z every weekend till the holidays. Well, this is where it comes back to making it a priority. Because guess what? Grandma can take her to her soccer game. And you don't have to be on the sideline for every single game. And it'll be okay.
We're giving you permission to miss a soccer game, to miss that gymnastics weekend. It's going to be okay. You're also going to show them that relationships is important too, that your marriage, your relationship is equally as important. Trust me, you're there every other waking minute for them. You can miss a weekend. So like I talked about, here's another little insider information on me. I talked about this in our date nights. I told you how I really like for Jason to plan those date nights. Well, I also like him to plan our getaways. No pressure over there, but I do. There's something magical about that. It comes back to the fact that I plan most everything else around here, which I like. It gives me joy. But for him to take the time to block into our schedule, this is a weekend that we're going away, and then find the place. And we've stayed at some really cool bed and breakfast and Airbnbs and all the things, and he finds it and he maps it out. I just love that. I love to sit back and relax and just go with the flow.
When I do the planning, I get to pick where things are and where we go to eat. And oftentimes it just happens to be near a brewery or a winery.
Funny how that works out every time, isn't it? Here is one lesson we learned. While I love him to plan it, sometimes I can get caught up in expectations in my own mind, how that weekend might go. And I would love the time, but if I didn't express those to him, he wouldn't know. He's not psychic over there, so how would he know what exactly I wanted? We would have a great time, but I have left feeling a little let down, like, oh man, I wish we would have hiked that weekend when we didn't. So leading into these now, I have learned to lay out my expectations. I don't generally care where we're going, what we're eating, what we're seeing, but if there's something that I just feel like, hey babe, if it works in, I'd really like to X, which for me is usually find a hike or do something I'd like to see, then I tell him that and I let him work that into the weekend, because setting that expectation up front for me allows him to plan it, which I enjoy, but also allows me to get what I want out of the weekend too, because you should both enjoy it.
So we'll start with kind of that loose discussion. Hey, I want to do something outside. I want to talk about X, Y, and Z. So expectation, for me, all right, be ready to listen and be ready to talk about, plans for the new year and the first quarter and things like that. So I'm not coming in, waking up on Saturday morning and, here's all these things we're going to talk about. At least I can prepare for that along with the logistics of the weekend.
Which is really funny because he's being polite, but that's two things for him. One, I need to prepare him that we're going to talk because he's got to ramp up to actually talking. And two, like he said, I get so excited for that time away with him and all of the experiences we're going to have, but also the great conversations we're going to have that aren't interrupted by other people. We can plan for things in the future. We talk about our travels. We talk about our goals, our business, where we're going, what we're doing. And I start making a list because I don't want to forget.
There's always a list.
There's always a list. I don't want to forget. And so I have the list and I tell him that in advance too. Hey, just so you know, I'm going to need you to be ready to talk about these things.
So both of these things, date nights and getaways, have allowed us to connect in different ways and different levels. Which would you recommend starting first?
Honestly, I would start with a getaway. Just one, but I would go, especially if you're in a season of disconnected and unsettled with your person. You need to find that vibe again. Like, just make it a little thing. It doesn't have to be huge. I'm not kidding. We've stayed in hotels in our same city before. It doesn't matter. Just go and get away with that person and reconnect and pick something fun to do and have some great conversations and let that spark the fire to get those date nights on the calendar. Heck, that can be one of the things you talk about and plan while you're there is what are our next date nights going to be? What's that going to look like? Is that going to be a set night every week? We have friends that every Tuesday night, that is their date night. Doesn't matter what falls on Tuesday. Anything that falls on Tuesday is off limits because every Tuesday is their date night. Some nights they're going out and some nights they're staying in, but it doesn't matter. From 5 to 8, they are unplugged and committed to themselves. So if that's what works for you, great. For Jason, it's more fluid. We change it up every week because sometimes we want to do breakfast and sometimes we go to lunch and sometimes we go out for a hike together in the middle of the day. It doesn't matter when it is, just carving out that time. So I would say start with getaways. And then if you're in a season that you really need to reconnect with each other, there's something really special that happens on a night away.
But if date nights is easier to start, do that. I would just recommend don't try to do everything at one time. I'm trying to come up with this term. I don't know what it is, but it would be the opposite of peeling an onion, where you're just going to layer one new thing on top of another. And you're going to, as you listen to this podcast, we're going to keep giving you layers and layers that we've been building for years now. Don't be overwhelmed. Don't try to do everything all at once, because that oftentimes does not work out.
That's sustainable for about 2.2 seconds, and then you move on. We've been at this game for 5 years of growth and being better than we were the day before, and it has just layered on one tiny little step, one tiny little change at a time, because you can't change it all. You just can't. I mean, you can, and you're going to crash and burn after a few days because it's not sustainable and you'll feel like a failure. So wherever you are in your relationship, just start with little changes and have dinner together. And then maybe plan a date night. And then 6 months down the road, when you save for it and you plan for it, then do a getaway. Whatever works for you, just start layering on wherever you are right now, the next layer to take you to that next level, because that's what we want. That's where Jason and I are now. I told you 5 years ago, we were disconnected. We were fine, just fine. I didn't want to be fine. And now, oh my gosh, we're thriving in mine and his relationship. I'm excited to see his face. We are passion filled. Our sex life is better than it's ever been. I mean, you can keep the lights on now. It's totally fine. Like, it's a good day around here. I know him on a deeper level. There was a point, it was a couple hours after I gave birth to our daughter, and I'll never forget it. It sticks out very clearly in my mind. I was probably a little drugged up, definitely just had a C-section because she was 9 pounds, 11 ounces, but I was laying in the hospital bed, and across the room, Jason had just taken her out of the bassinet and he was holding her in his arms. And I was flooded with this overwhelming sense of love for him in that moment, that we had just become parents, that he had played a part in making me a mother, something that for a while I believed I might never be. And that I've carried that feeling with me, and I've held on to it in the moments of disconnect, in the moments of fights, in the moments of tough times. And it was just always there. And just a few weeks ago on our walk, we were walking, keeping up with my promise, he got ahead of me a little bit. I don't know what he was doing. He was looking at something. And in that moment, I felt it again. There it was. Like, we are full circle back at this place. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he just made me a mom, but everything to do with the fact that he is as committed to making us exceptional as I am. And we're doing the hard work every day to do that. And that's what I want for you. I want you and your partner to feel that overwhelming surge of, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with you. And I also can't wait to take your clothes off.
So go grab your calendar right now, look at the next 3 months, and pick a weekend and make it happen. And then take a picture or screenshot this podcast and tag us on Instagram. Tell us where you're going to go and when.
Yeah, we want to know. Our next one is actually just a couple weeks away. So make sure you're following me on Instagram stories and you'll get a sneak peek into where we're going. Not all the things, but at least where we're going, and you'll see how we do it. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be magical. We hope this was helpful. We hope you will take action steps right now to get that exceptional feeling. Like I said, come find us over on Instagram and tell us what you're up to on your date nights and your getaways. We're so excited for you and your relationship. Until next time, let's do life together.